Hey, Rick.
Hey, Megan, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. I am here in my office, and we have this really cool dry erase board behind me, and we were brainstorming in our meeting last week how to solve the housing crisis. What have you been up to?
I think about the same. It's all on our minds, it seems like these days, right?
Right? I know. I've
But
put
your board's a lot cooler than mine.
yeah, I've put 4 houses up for sale this year, and
That's
three of
good.
them are under contract at 75 to 100,000 over asking. So that should tell you that we have a housing shortage. But tell me what's been happening on your end.
Well, so, mortgage rates are front and center right now for sure, for a lot of reasons. We've talked about this really over the past year or so. About some point in 2022, we're probably going to see some rate increases. We've seen the rate increases though happening in January rather than throughout the year. So we've had, and it's what's driving this market is data on the economy, primarily inflation. But the Fed's concern is always inflation. Job numbers and stuff are pretty decent. A lot of things are happening in the economy, which is okay, but the market tends to focus on the inflationary numbers. And those are coming in a little bit hot right now. So I think the market's having a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, if you will, to that data. We pretty much know now that come in the March Fed meeting, they're going to raise the discount rate a quarter point. So people kind of get really focused on, well, what's that going to do to rates? We have to know, this is important to know, that the Fed discount rate is not the same as the mortgage rates. So people think, well, in March, the rates are going to go up. Well, that's true. The cost of borrowing in general is going to go up a little bit in March, a quarter point. That's not that big a deal. It's kind of expected. But what happens on our side is the markets anticipate those Fed movements well in advance of the movement. And so the market's anticipating that already. So we're starting to see that rate bump right now in the mortgage market. And it's gonna level off at some point. But we're gonna be rates, I think it looks like right now in the fours. Yeah, high threes, low fours for at least the first 3 to 6 months of the year.
But wait a minute, Rick, I was on the 57 and I drove by this billboard that said they could refinance me for 1.75%.
I love those. I know. I love it.
I know.
I get the stuff in the mail too, like similar types of things in the mail. And I feel like sometimes I'll just call them and play with them a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't have time for that nonsense.
I know. I was going to say, you for sure don't have to. All right. So tell us, so this year so far, rates have gone up about a percentage, right? And
close.
And it's probably been very stressful to be you because you are always trying to time the rate lock. So for people who don't understand what we're talking about, I mean, typically when you get your pre-approval, you don't have a loan, you can't lock your rate. You have to wait until you're under contract,
right,
and then you can lock your rate. And most programs will allow for a 30-day lock. So if you have a 45-day escrow, that means you're going to be hanging out there for 2 weeks in limbo land. And anyway, Rick, in this volatile market, I mean, what signs do you look for on when to lock the rate? And I know it's not a science.
Yeah, and especially right now, this degree of volatility, it's just too hard to call it. So here's what I say to people. The market never moves in a straight line, either up or down, right? And so what you have to do when the market's going up like this, you want to actually lock the rate on the dip. So if we have a day or two where the market gets a little bit better, that's when you want to lock. Because any dip in the market is a short-term trend, not a long-term trend. Okay, so if you get a little bit of a dip in the market, lock it right away. Don't look back. That's it. It's almost like trying to pick the bottom of the stock market, right? At some point, you have to just lock that stock in and not look back and just take the stock, right? Same thing in the mortgage market. So we want to buy in that dip. So at some point during the course of that escrow, if we get like a day or two of a market rally, that's when you want to lock it.
Yeah. So sometimes you just have to buckle your seatbelt and pop some popcorn and just kind of like ride it out and don't panic. Exactly. Right. But I mean, how many times a day do you watch the what's happening with the markets and the interest rates?
I start watching the market at 6:30 in the morning. As crazy as that sounds. and throughout the day. So I get market alerts throughout the day as the market moves on us. I get market commentary every day. So that's something I'm pretty much running front and center every day of the week. And so I manage that very, very closely, as I know you know. But here's the thing of it. People tend to kind of panic a little bit, right? My message is don't panic. We're still in really good interest rates. I mean, 4%, 3.99, 3.75, whatever that number is, historically is still a really good rate.
Right.
I mean, heck, 2 years ago, actually 3 or 4 years ago, rates were in the 4.5 range just 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
Okay, so rates are still pretty good.
I agree. Well, good. Well, thank you for that intel on how and when and to how to lock your interest rate. And that's really good information. I think that all buyers should consider, because I know it's like their primary concern when they call you. What's the rate? So
What's the rate, right?
yeah, nobody knows what your rate is, ma'am, sir, until you get into escrow. So, all right.
Rates are gonna be fine. At the end of the day, rates are still gonna be fine.
Yep, there you go. All right, Rick, thanks for your help and
Thank you,
your
Meghan.
intel, and we'll talk to you next week.
Awesome. Thanks. See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.